Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello, folks. Shalom. Welcome. My name is Avrum Rosensweig, and I am here with my colleague and friend, Rabbi Shlomo Gemara, for our series, which we call Parsha Prose. How are you today, Rabbi?
Very well. Baruch Hashem. How are you, Avrum?
Yeah, thank God. I'm doing very well, working very hard on my podcast, and I thank you for asking me that. I would like to show our listeners and our viewers a trailer of a podcast that I was involved in yesterday with a fellow by the name of Yigal Hecht. He is a documentarian. He has been so for many years. Israeli born, lives here in Toronto. And Rabbi, he created a documentary called The Killing Roads. And essentially it was about October 7th. And his specific view of October 7th was about the roads in the South, Road 242 and I think 22, where people were trying to escape from Hamas, the terrorists. So with your permission, I would like to show the trailer to that podcast, directing people to the show that I did with Yigal, because it's extraordinarily important that we watch such things, as difficult as it is. We're okay with that, Rabbi?
Sure, 100%. I would love to see it.
Okay, thank you.
כל היישובים בלגן, מלא מחבלים, חדירות של מחבלים. אני פותח דלת של האמבולנס, בודק דופק, הרוג, עולה לאמבולנס, ממשיך הלאה. אני אומר, אני רוצה אנשים חיים לפנות היום.
אמרתי לו גם, הם לא באים להציל אותנו, הם באים להרוג אותנו. אתה מבין שאתה הולך למות? כאוס.
השאיר אותנו שבורים.
הוא אמר לי, בואי לקחת אותי. וניסיתי.
Hundreds of cars, 350 cars were burned.
And then 1,000 bullets started to go off. And then they threw a Molotov cocktail.
כולם מתחילים לרוץ לכיוון השטח. זה פשוט ירי שלא מפסיק. ממש טובחים באנשים.
They didn't have any way to defend themselves. And there wasn't help coming.
זה לגמרי כביש הדמים.
ואז אני קולטת את החוליית מחבלים, והם בעצם מתחילים לרסס אותי כבר מכל כיוון.
אותו הידרדר ונעצר פה, ליד המיגונית. פה עשו עליהם את הווידוי הריגה.
כשהוא אמר לי, אמא, אני לא מרגיש את הרגליים, מבחינתי הוא מת. זהו. וזה השבת השחורה.
What did you think?
More and more documentaries are coming, and actually some of the investigation that was done in the army, in the security forces, start to leak out, and it's very disturbing to learn about what happened from all kind of angles. Very frightening, very upsetting, very painful. I think the question that we will have to ask ourselves at the end of the day is, okay, what are we doing with all this? because two people can see the same thing and to come to very different conclusions. And by the way, it's tied well to the story that we are going to discuss today, that sometimes it depends how we look at things. What do you think is the purpose of this? Is it just to document something, or he tried to send a message?
Yeah, his Igal Hecht's message was a couple of things. Number one is to make sure that everybody understands what happened on October 7th on those particular highways, because they were killing highways, they were killing roads, as is the title of the documentary. And he is also very, very intent upon ensuring that in the future, in 5 years from now, in 10 years, in 20 years from now, that the people who come along and say, oh, well, October 7th didn't happen, the Holocaust didn't happen, Nagid. Here's the footage of it. And it's not only my footage, he said. It's not only Hatzala's footage, but it's Hamas's footage as well. So his intention was to make sure that in the future, people understand this atrocity happened. Things like this cannot happen again, that we have to find ways and means of making peace, and that making sure that we secure our people.
I understand. I have a different view on documentaries. I think it's important for the reasons you raised. But as I said, at the end of the day, it's important like what meaning you derive from it. Take the Holocaust, for example. The Palestinians are saying about the Holocaust, oh, you are doing now a Holocaust to us. So they take this event, evacuate it from all its meaning, and actually using it in the most disgusting way against the survivors of the Holocaust. What I try to say is that it's very, very important after all these documentaries to focus on the message. What is the message from all this? What do we try to say? That there was horrible things? I can assure you that from the moment Avram Avinu came to the world stage until today, there were so many atrocities that we cannot even count them. But what is the message we take from all this? This is a big question, and this troubles me a lot, because even in Israel, if you look what is happening, the people take the October 7th to completely different directions, opposite directions. One see it as something that should force us to see our Jewish heritage as something that we have to appreciate. Some people say, on the contrary, how it could happen to us on Simchat Torah and so on. And, some people say we have to be like a democratic state, a Jewish state. They take the same event and derive or squeeze every drop to a very different direction. Therefore, I find it very difficult to look at these documentaries when I don't know what exactly the message here.
What do you sense the message might be?
To me, the most important thing, as you said, I don't want people to come and say there were no October 7th. You exaggerate, like they said about the Holocaust. To me, the message is that the Jewish people still struggle for their survival and for the existence of a country of their own. It's a struggle that just continue. I would say from the anti-Semites who fights us, it's senseless, because the Jewish people just try to help people. Like who these people, these murderers, barbarians, many of them worked in Israel. They got their parnasa from Israel. They got parnasa from the people that they slaughtered. How is that possible? And to me, it's a great lesson to all of us. We have to know that the journey is not over. We still face the same difficulties and challenges as our forefathers, although we have our own country. And that's supposed to wake us up to ask ourselves, like, what does it mean to be Jew? Even in the modern era, even when you have your own country, what does that mean? What you are committed to? And unfortunately, this discussion somehow, at least from the from the media I read and hear, I don't see it too much. In my opinion, the greatest thing would be, okay, let's stop all our fights, the internal fights, blaming each other for all kind of things. Something happened. There was an earthquake. There was a tsunami here. Can we stop as Jews and just to reflect on it and to think what does that mean to us as the Jewish people? And I don't see it happen yet. I hope it will happen one day. Maybe it's too fresh. Maybe it's too painful. But that's the direction I would like people to go to reflect, to understand, to deepen our identity, and hopefully it will come very soon.
Rabbi, in that light, what is your understanding of the attack by the Amalekis on Israel from behind when they were in the desert? What is your understanding of the Spanish Inquisition, of the Inquisition, being thrown out of pretty much every European country, and then the Holocaust? What is God's idea for the struggle? Why do we have such a struggle of survival?
We will have to ask God for it. But I would say the following. Number one, let's see the positive kind of things in it. Anti-Semitism reminds us who we are. And that's sometimes necessary, to be honest. And I think I said it in one of our first podcasts. When a Jew is not doing Kiddush, the Goy is doing Havdalah. Namely, like if we don't know our uniqueness, sometimes we need help, so to speak, from the outside to remind us, you are special people. You have a mission. You have to stick to your mission. And, to take it one step further, the more we want to be like the population around us, the more they reject us. Unfortunately, this is one of the lessons that I learned. The more we try to be like not ourselves, someone will remind us who we are. That's one lesson that I take from the Inquisition when Jews were part of, the Spanish life. I take it from Egypt, that we are going to tell the story very soon around Leila Seder. One of the lessons I teach my family is that the more they wanted to be Egyptian, the more they were rejected by the Egyptians. That's happened in Germany when the Jews feel that they are on the highest echelons of the political power, the culture, and they were rejected. They were reminded that no, Jews are Jews, and it's, someone orchestrated it in a way that we will not be able just to mingle into the general society. We have a special mission for ourselves that we have to be committed to. And I believe that that's somehow also part of the message of this October 7th. We feel that, we can be part of the society around us and to be, not exactly ourselves. And we are reminded that at least them, our enemies, think that we are unique and we are special. And we have to think about it. That's one of my messages.
Rabbi, you mentioned Leil HaSeder. Firstly, do you do 2 Sedorim? And what are your plans this year? What are your plans?
I'm doing 2 and actually enjoy them very much, especially the second one, I have to admit, when you are not as tired as the first one. Usually the first one, it's after, when I was in Israel, I used to go to baking the matzah. And obviously, when you prepare a meal, that's even for me, who is not cooking anything, but you have to run here and to run there. It's very hard to get enough before Leila Seder. You come to the table sometimes like a shmate.
Yes.
The second night is Amechaye, everyone enjoyed. Baruch Hashem, you had a good sleep. You come relaxed. I love the second Seder. I must tell you that. It's not nice to admit it, but I will. We try to be honest about our feelings, and I love the second Seder.
What are both of your Sedorim are at home?
We used to do it for a long time. Now we are going to our daughter who lives in Torah to be with the grandchildren. V'higadet ale bincha, that's the
Yes.
mitzvah of the night, and they
Yes.
host us very nicely. So, we enjoyed it very much.
Are you okay to schlep up there and to be there for those 2 days of Yom Tov?
Oh, for sure.
It's not a problem for you?
For sure. I love to see other member of the community, many people that I know. For me, it's opportunity, and I appreciate my daughter that can host us and so beautifully.
Where do you daven when you're in north of in Thornhill?
In the Beit with Rabbi Koropkin, your good friend.
Very good, very good. I will be doing the second Seder at Bernard Battelle Center, which is a center here in Toronto that provides programming for seniors, and I believe there will be about 200 people there.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So I have to figure out the balance, sort of presenting of much of the story of Pesach as possible, but by the same token, the older you get, the more tired you become. So I have to do it in such a way that there is a balance within. But I'm very excited about it.
You should be.
Yeah, I like doing Sedorim like that. Have you ever done a community Seder?
Only when I was a soldier at the army, they asked the religious people to go to a army base. I have one story that is going to knock you down. 1 year, I was sent for the Seder to the island of Tiran. Do you know what is the island of Tiran?
No.
Okay, so after the 6-day war, Israel took over 2 small islands, and one was Snapir and one was Tiran. Now, these are strategically very, very important. They control every ship that is going in the Red Sea and going through towards Eilat. So basically, the Egyptians could control every movement, marine movement towards Eilat, and that's exactly what they did. The first step of the 6-day war was closing the straits of Tiran to passage of ships that went towards Eilat. And Levi Eshkol at the time considered it as declaring war. That's actually enabled Israel to react, because they blamed the Egyptians for opening a war. Anyway, the 2 places are completely isolated, but there is a small group of soldiers that protect the 2 islands. And they asked me to go there. Now, to reach there, you have to understand, they took me with the helicopter. By the way, the first time it couldn't land because there were such winds, and they had to take me again from Sharm el-Sheikh to Tiran Island. I come to the island. I don't see anybody. I thought that it's a Robinson Crusoe story. I'm alone on the island. Yes. The pilot went back to Sharm el-Sheikh. I'm left there alone, nobody there. And then when I come, I see all the soldiers on the beach. I'm not going to tell you exactly how they look like. They also had the new emperor's clothes, to be honest with you. No one is around, and they want to tan. I was like, Yeshiva came there. I did not know where I am. This is like. Then the high officer of the place, he was like, a Seren. He came to me, saw that I'm very confused, said, listen, no, we are here, we have fun, we are having good time. And by the way, we are not even looking for a Seder. We don't care about the Seder, but if you want to do a Seder, fine. So I had to kosher the kitchen for the soldiers. And actually, we did a Seder, and believe it or not, people just came, although they declared themselves as people with no connection to the Seder and to the Pesach. Everyone came for the Seder. We did a quick one because they did not want to schlep it, and obviously there was no place for too many Divrei Torah. But it was a nice Seder at the end of the day. So this is a very memorable Seder that I had, and I think it was the only one that I did in public.
when you're surrounded by individuals who are ensconced in a more of a secular life, certainly more than you, is there any sense of envy of their life, or any sense of you wish that they would be more spiritual? Do you ever feel that way?
Envy is not the right word at all. I am not. I am not. To be honest, many times I do feel that people miss certain experiences that I have with my family. I think, forget about like the religious side of Shabbat, for example, and Kiddush and being together. I feel bad for the people who don't really enjoy this experience. And unfortunately, I know that I'm working in a school that many people have all kind of levels of celebrating Shabbat, but certain aspects of Shabbat are missing, and I feel bad for it. We have Shabbatonim here in chat where we try to have really Shabbat, traditional Shabbat. So people are not banned of cell phones and things like this only when they come to shul or to the Shabbos meal. They keep the same thing, but for many people, like the Tish, for example, that we gather and sing, is something new. The Zmirot around the Shabbat table is something new, and I can see for many students it means a lot, and they want to come voluntarily in the year after, and some of them volunteer to be madrichim, like to guide groups. So envy for sure not. I do feel that people could get so many benefits, even not on the religious side of it, from many of the traditions of Shabbat.
So as a frum Jew, then, as a religious Jew, you feel as though you're taking a lot out of life? You're enjoying the world that God has provided?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I don't feel ever that like I miss something. I cannot go to this concert or this event. Not at all.
Okay. And obviously the reason why I'm asking is because of my own background. I was brought up in a rabbinical home. We've talked about that many times. And I was brought up in a community that was not religious at all. We were the only religious Jews in Kitchener. That changed later on a bit. But as a youngster, I was always very, very envious of the irreligious because they would do things on Shabbat that I found very, very interesting. It wasn't easy to be a rabbi's son, and particularly the only son of a rabbi. But I myself felt envy for those individuals who were having fun in a way that I would have liked to have fun.
It never bothered me, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And I was surrounded many, many times with other people, and I never felt deprived of like living the good life.
Yeah, you're Rabbi. There's no question about it. You're a solidly committed Jew and religious Jew. And I want to tell you something. I went on AI, our favorite friend here, our Chaver, and I put in. I said, tell me a few things about Rabbi Shlomo Gemara. And listen what AI told me about you, okay? It says like this. I knew you would be happy with, but I did it anyways. Rabbi Shlomo Gemara is recognized for his deep understanding and expertise in the Talmud, particularly the Gemara, which is a critical part of the Jewish oral law. He's contributed significantly to the study and teaching of Jewish law based on Talmudic analysis. Rabbi Gemara has been a respected figure in various Jewish communities for his authority in Talmudic interpretation. He's known for his engaging teaching style. Rabbi Shlomo Gemara is said to have an ability to make complex Talmudic concepts accessible to all levels of learners. It also says that you've written on various aspects of Jewish philosophy and ethics. Sometimes AI is wrong. Have you written on philosophy and ethics?
I wrote, yes.
You have?
Yeah.
Where is your writings?
But not books, but like articles.
Articles in journals and things like that?
Publication. Not in English. Maybe one in English appeared many years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. It's very frightening. Like I feel
exposed.
Exposed, yeah. And
I have to, yeah.
But it's interesting. It's interesting to hear.
According to AI, you're a very fascinating person.
You see why you shouldn't trust AI? You see, here is the proof, like walking evidence that AI. You have to be very careful.
Vigilant, no question about it. But I would tell you, by the way, agav orcha, as they say in Aramaic. By the way, from my experience with your writing, you're an outstanding writer, and I want to continue to encourage you in that direction because you really are prolific in your writing.
First of all, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, maybe one day. Writing is important if you have something to say, and that's my big problem with my writing. I don't feel that I have something important to say, and I will leave it to many other people who actually have something to say.
I hear you, Rabbi, and it's a feeling or a sense that a lot of writers have. Why am I even writing this? But I will tell you, there's an awful lot of writers out there who have far less to say than you do. So consider that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Parsha and Prose. It is our weekly show, our weekly podcast in which we investigate the Torah portion of the week. Of this week, it's Pikudei. And we do it in a very, very interesting and intriguing way. We do it through the lens of classic literature. Now, this week, we are studying, as I said, Pikudei, and we're doing it through famous story by Hans Christian Andersen, and it's called The Emperor's New Clothes. Let me give you an introduction to both of them. The Torah portion Pikudei, which is Exodus 38:21 to 40:38, and it's the last parsha in the book of Shemot. It marks the conclusion of the book of Exodus and centers on the final steps in the construction of the Tabernacle, the sacred dwelling place for God among the Israelites. This portion details the completion of the Tabernacle's components, including the furnishings, the priestly garments, and the careful accounting of all the materials donated by the Jewish people, the Bnei Israel. It emphasizes the meticulousness and devotion with which the Israelites followed God's instructions, reflecting themes of holiness, community, and divine presence. The portion concludes with the dedication of the tabernacle itself, the filling of the sanctuary with God's glory, and the establishment of his presence amongst his people, setting the stage for the journey ahead. The Emperor's New Clothes is a timeless fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen that explores themes of vanity, deception, and societal pressure. The story follows an emperor who is so preoccupied with his appearance and new clothes that he falls prey to two cunning swindlers. They convince him that they can craft the finest garments invisible to anyone who is either incompetent or unfit for their position. Eager to impress his subjects, the emperor parades through the streets in his new clothes, unaware that he is actually wearing nothing at all. The story highlights the dangers of pride and the importance of honesty, as it is a child who ultimately speaks the truth and exposes the emperor's foolishness. Through its simple yet powerful narrative, The Emperor's New Clothes serves as a satirical critique of authority, pretense, and the tendency to conform to societal expectations. How did you bring these two together, Rabbi?
The reason why I choose this one, first of all, I love not only this story, but all the Andersen stories, which to me is profound. Did you ever try to tell a story to a child or to write one?
Yes.
How did you find it?
I'm good at it.
You're good at it?
Yeah, I am good at it. How about you?
Listen, I have, it was forced on me many, many times that my kids, my grandchildren and my kids came to me, they can't go to sleep before like hearing the stories. And so I became like a children author. I was coerced to this job and to be kind of writer or storyteller. And I found it very, very difficult to go from your position in life and to try to understand children, what is interest for them, what will inspire them, because you, at the end of the day, you want to tell them a story that will give them some food for thought and so on. So I found like writing for children or telling them stories much harder than tell a story for an adult, to be honest with you. You have to be really good at it and to understand very profound messages and yet to put them in a very compelling way for children. And Andersen excelled in it. It's like he takes the most complicated and important and profound social and psychology, and made it digestible for children. I will ever admire Anderson's and anyone who write such a good literature for children. We spoke before about J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. I find it quite the same. Like you take universal, profound themes and put them together as a story. And, it's like to give someone a very bitter a medicine and to do it in a way that you actually want to take it. And that's the beauty of it. So when you think about the themes of the Emperor's New Clothes, you obviously start to disdain the whole idea how much people appreciate people because of how they look like and what they wear. But when you compare it to the Torah, actually there is two major portions about Pikudei Keuna, about the garments of the Kohanim, and you think to yourself, actually the Kohanim, this should be so remote from them. They are so spiritual. They are so like connected to God. Why do we care about their clothing? And the law, the Jewish law is that if a Kohen go to the Tabernacle or to the temple and do his job with the greatest intention, but he's lacking one of the Pikudei Keuna. Every Kohen had to have 4 garments, items of the garments. If he misses only one of them, the korban is not a korban. He has to bring it again. Sometimes it will disqualify him for any other work. Why is it so important? Okay, so he wear only 3 bgadim, or he maybe came with his madei beta, they call it, like the regular working clothes. Okay, what happened? He had his heart and his soul and his intention were all into the korban. Why is it so important? And the Torah going with fine details, what exactly the materials and the size and how it should look like. And when you compare the two, you don't understand, like the Torah really cares about clothes. Is it important at all? Isn't it all about your intention and your thoughts and your holiness? So, I wanted to talk about it because it looks to me very different messages.
I just want to bounce back for a moment on a point that you made about storytelling to children. I thought that's a very significant point that you're expressing. And I'm assuming you're talking about children who are 3 years old, 4 years old, in that age group.
More, until they become young adults.
Okay. Just a sidebar. Some of the stories that Hans Christian Andersen wrote was The Little Mermaid, The Ugly Duckling, The Emperor's New Clothes, which we're speaking about today, Snow Queen, Thumbelina, The Princess and the Pea, and so on. When you were speaking about how to tell stories to little children so that they're poignant and you can bring big ideas in life down to a place that little ones can understand, it reminded me of a story that I had with my son. When he was 3 years old, I took him to visit our Aunt Sylvia. And she was a lovely, lovely person, very fine human being whom we love very much. She was 93 years old and she had enough of life. She was tired. So one of the things she stopped doing was she stopped talking. So I took my little fellow and he was right next to me. We were by her bedside and I was talking to Sylvia and she would not respond. And my little guy taps me on the leg and he says to me, Daddy, he says, I want to ask you a question. I said, oh, okay, what is it, son? And I kneeled down and I listened to him. He said, Daddy, why does Auntie Sylvia need a mouth? And I wrote it down. I wrote down many things that he would say as a child. And I realized at that point, life to little people is very black and white. It's very black and white, right? They see it as it is.
But at the same time, they wonder about the things that usually you don't think. That, by the way, I love teaching young people.
Like how young? How young?
Young, to me, I think I'm pretty good in grade 6 to grade 11, something like this. And listen, I'm teaching adults a lot. Most of my teaching is actually for adults, if it's teachers or community members, and I love it too. But there is something in the thinking of children that makes it very, very unique and very challenging, because they really wonder about this kind of question. Why she needs a mouth? You would never think about it, right? But it's actually a very good question. And many, many times when I try to analyze a Talmudic understanding of an opinion, like I'm tackled by ideas that my mind is too rigid even to produce such a thought into the world. And they have these flexible muscles of brain that will release and shows you the world from a very different angle. And by the way, I'm not the only one. Some of the greatest Talmudic minds, we will take Rabbi Elchanan Wasserman, who, in my opinion, one of the greatest students of the masters of Talmud, Rab Chaim Soloveitchik and the others, Chafetz Chaim, he was a student of the Chafetz Chaim. He was a Rosh Yeshiva, but he insisted on teaching grade 9 students. And he explained why. Maybe they don't have the knowledge of people in their 20s and 30s, but their level of thinking and the way they want to understand and they're curious about things cause him to think much more about what he's teaching. And I feel this, I heard this when I myself was in grade 10 or grade 11, and it sticks to me. Until this very day, I learned so much from my students, from their questions, things that normally I wouldn't think about. And for people, like here in chat, I teach many, many times students who come with no background. And, the parents in the beginning of the years, they say, my son never, or my daughter never opened Talmud. They say, that's exactly what I want in my class. People who are not biased, they did not develop any attitude towards the Talmud. They come fresh. They want to understand, think fresh. That's exactly the mind I need.
Oh, nicely said. It's also magical thinking that little people or younger people reflect, which is inspiring. It's highly inspiring, because too often as we get older, you're right, our minds becomes too rigid. Yeah. Rabbi, a question for you about the Parsha through the lens of the Emperor's New Clothes. How do the themes of vanity and pride in the Emperor's New Clothes relate to the Israelites' actions in constructing the tabernacle in Pikudei? Was there focus on external perfection or a deeper connection to God?
Well, that's a big question of the Truma Tetzaveh, Vayakel Pikudei, this Parshiot that we are dealing with, because as I say, it's surprising. It's surprising to what kind of details the Torah goes to describe every item in the tabernacle, every cloth of the Kohanim, which is very, very surprising. If you think about major issues, the Torah sometimes just hint in one word or two, and you have to develop the whole idea. And here the Torah mebazbezet. The Torah is just give you detail after detail after detail. And remember, most of the people were not involved. Wouldn't it be just, God will teach Moshe. Moshe will take a small group of people, teach them what they have to do, and that's it. Why me and you have to read about all of this? And I think the answer is, number one, that really our religious experience is actually the little details. The tefillah that we go to, the good deed that we do, the little things eventually create a temple. This is one truth of it. The other one is indeed, and this is the most important point that I want to make regarding the two opposing or apparently opposing themes of the Torah and of Anderson. It all depends on how we look on things. And you can look, I think what the Torah is teaching us is you can look on the grandeur and the beauty of the Pikudei Kehuna and to lose sight of what is really important behind them. And I think that the Torah want to teach us that looking in the beauty of the garment, of the temple, of the gold, we have to remember that all these are just serving the main purpose of the Mishkan, which is connected to God. There is a beautiful Mishnah in Avot that a person who is walking in the road and learning Torah, and he looks around and he see a beautiful tree, and he say, "Wow, what an amazing tree!" The Mishnah said that he's like should be killed, mitchayev benafsho. And it always bothered me. Actually, I love to see the world. I love to see the trees, the mountains, the rivers. It's so beautiful. But I think that the idea of this Mishnah is to teach you something very profound. What is the purpose of the beauty of the tree? What is the purpose of the beauty of nature? That you look at it and you will say, Ma rabu ma'asecha Hashem. God, your deeds are just inspiring. And sometimes we detach nature from its creator. And I think that the message of the Mishkan, yes, you see the beauty, but please don't stop there. All the beauty of the Mishkan and the world around you. And beauty is not only physical beauty. Beauty means the beautiful poetry, the beautiful sculptures, the beautiful nature, the beautiful people that you see. Eventually, you have to look a little bit deeper to their neshama, to their inner side. Don't be deceived by the outside. And in this regard, I would say, actually, the message of understanding and the Torah are actually converge and became actually one.
Rabbi, you have done a lot of traveling with your lovely wife, and you've seen a lot of beauty in the world. What particular object, let's say, stands out to you, and what was your feeling, your thought at that time when you saw it?
Number one, the Alps. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. There are so many times that I told my wife, I wish I would be, after 120, I will be buried here, like just to enjoy the views. Too many places. There is something, I never understood like how the Torah in Sefer Devarim speaks about like the avodah zara, like the worshipping of idols. And the Torah mentioned Ha'arim Aramim, like the tall mountain and the trees and all this. And I never understood it until you see them. And there is something to worship, like the strength, the power that they exude. It's outside. It's like it's something to appreciate. And the Torah is afraid that exactly the same message, that you will disconnect the mountain and the beautiful tree from its creator. It's very easy when you just focus on the world itself. I think, by the way, that this is a message about science entirely. Like, we became so sophisticated, understanding the molecules and the DNA and the RNA and so many things which we, like 200 years ago, people did not even think in this direction. And the message is like Pikudei Kehuna. Okay, this is all beautiful and this is amazing, but don't forget who is behind it. And it happened to us many, many times that many people believe in science and they say, okay, I don't have to believe in God. I can understand the world around me, not through God. And this is exactly the message of the Mishkan and the Pikudei Kehuna. Like, okay, you are just see the beauty of it, but you don't see like what is behind it. And the religious person, I try, when I read a good article about biology or chemistry or technology, I will always say at the end, God, you created the human brain, you created chemistry, you created the cells in such an amazing, unbelievable, profound wisdom that sometimes I just want to bow down after reading like a scientific article and to thank God for his amazing work.
So I had that feeling up at Christian Island, which is about 2 hours northwest of Toronto. It is Takan Island. You have to take a ferry to go across. And my dear friend Ellie Rubenstein has a cottage there. It's actually a native reserve. And upon that native reserve, there's also cottages. And excuse me, in the fall, Rabbi, when you sit on the beach and you look and you see the changing of the leaves. I remember looking, and I closed my eyes and I looked to the heavens. I said, God, you are a magnificent, magnificent artist. This is overwhelming, the colors and the composition. My question to you is,
by the way, I just want to stop you
please.
there. It's very interesting. There is a pasuk in Azinu, En Tzur Ke'Elokeinu, which is the pshat is there is no rock and strong a rock like our God. But our sages changed the word Tzur, which is a rock and strong, to Tzayar. Tzayar,
Yes.
a painter. En Tzayar Ke'Elokeinu, like there is no one who is painting like God. So you are not the first one
Very
to
good.
think about it.
Now, I know that there is a blessing for thunder and lightning, one of God's creations. Is there a blessing or something that is said upon seeing the Alps, upon seeing absolute beauty?
Oh, absolutely. First of all, you have, when you see this beautiful mountain, the River Bracha of Oseh Maaseh Bereshit, like you face nature, almost like you can see the fingerprints of God in this one. By the way, one of my most memorable moments in the Alps, when you see the Matterhorn from far, I think the place is called Zarnet or something like this. When you go on the mountain, in certain places there are verses from Tehillim. I don't know who put it there. I guess like Christian people. But honestly, like when you read the psukim and you see the views, it's just like, wow, amazing. What a description of this kind of views. Although David HaMelech never visited the Alps, I believe, but like he apparently knew how to look into nature. Absolutely. And what he saw apparently on the Carmel or the Judean desert is very fitting to the Alps and other places in the world as well.
What's the most beautiful place in Israel to you?
Most beautiful place. There are so many. I love the old city. I just love the old city and to take a look. I love the Tayelet where you watch from Mount Scopius. You
The panorama.
see the old city panorama. So beautiful. This is about Yerushalayim. I love the Golan and the rivers of the Golan. Beautiful. I have many places actually here around in my office. I have a few pictures of Israel. Israel is beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful.
It's very hard. It's like asking who do you like most of your children. Like every place has its uniqueness, and I love it all.
Rabbi, here's a very interesting question. I must say so myself. The child in emperor's new clothes is the only one who speaks the truth about the emperor's nakedness, right? In Pikudei, how might the Israelites have needed a childlike honesty and clarity to understand and appreciate the true purpose of the tabernacle?
Apparently, some of them got it and some of them not. Listen, what we are going to read in the Parsha of Bamidbar is telling us that people sometimes did not see what is actually the real content of the Mishkan. They continue to complain. The place of the Mishkan became a place where the holy people and the complainer came. So some people saw it as what it is, a place to connect to God, Oel Moed, and some people saw it as a place that means very little for them. So the question is how much the Kohanim, the temple can really change people. I think it's more an opportunity rather than a factor that is going to change you, which tells you that eventually it depends all on you. You can have God in the midst of the camp and still be a person who is detached from God. I think this is one of the saddest lessons of Sefer Bamidbar. It's not about it's not about the God himself. It's not about the temple itself. It's about the way you look at it. And listen, think about the story of Anderson. Well, what happened there? People look at it, but eventually they, for fear of how foolish they are going to look like, they stated the wrong statement that it's beautiful and it's magnificent, which was a complete lie, right? They were caught in their own mind, and the deception just went on and on. And I think that the main experience for people who came for the Mishkan or the temple later was to be true to yourself. How much connection you want with God and how much you are going to take home with you after visiting the temple. And this is a big question. Until today, when you learn Torah, when you go to shul, what do you take back to home? Are you just a person who came as a visitor and you did your job, or you take something very profound to yourself, something that enrich your true personality, and you take it home?
That's a great thought. Something to think about as well. Rabbi, I want to just mention a few quotes within the Emperor's New Clothes and ask you a question on the final one. One of the quotes is, "But the emperor, who was very fond of fine clothes, thought to himself, 'I must see these new clothes. I am sure they will be magnificent.' The emperor said, 'But I cannot see the clothes. This is dreadful. What shall I do? I cannot admit that I see nothing.' The swindler said, 'Those are the most beautiful clothes you ever saw, and they fit you perfectly, your majesty.' The emperor in his new clothes went out into the street with all his courtiers, and the people explained, 'Oh, how fine the emperor looks in his new clothes.' But the child cried out, 'But he isn't wearing anything at all.'" And when you were speaking a few seconds ago about some people related or responded to the godliness of the tabernacle and some people didn't, I was thinking to myself, we talked about the magic of children, but the truth of the matter is that there are children, let's say, who are more magical. I have a friend whose son, David, as a little boy, he used to embrace Torah figurines. He loved Torah figurines, and he had a collection of them, and he loved nothing more than putting on tzitzit, right? And acting as though he was an older bachur in yeshiva or in the synagogue. So my question to you is, are there any children in your life whom you have taught perhaps, who you saw this very, very acute sense of spirit, more so than the other children?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think that, people talk about today like intelligence, cognitive intelligence, emotional intelligence. I do believe that there is something that is spiritual intelligence. I certainly do believe so. I think that's exactly the job of a parent, to develop this sense of spirituality in his children. And I'm not sure that I was that good at it. And you know what? Sometimes for someone who is knowledgeable and is like considered to be Talmid Chacham on different level, you are so embracing the knowledge and the wisdom and the analytical thinking, and you don't appreciate like the simple feeling towards God, towards people, towards healthy relationship, which I find. I'll tell you what, and I think it's very, very important. Today, there are people who are so knowledgeable and they know everything and they can give you an answer for everything. But I remember old people that I saw in Yerushalayim, old women in Yerushalayim. And you know what? I think that some of them could not even read properly or could not explain it. But on Yom Kippur, they went to shul and they were crying because they felt it's a Yom Din. If I will live another million years, I don't think that I will come to this feeling of an old lady in Yerushalayim, in Sharei Chesed, that feel this connection to God through just her heart and soul. And when Yom Kippur comes, she's like under the stress of what is going to be the judgment for me, for my family, for my children, my grandchildren. And to me, I do believe that people are growing differently in terms of their spiritual intelligence.
Is that a concept, spiritual intelligence?
If it is, I just invented it.
I love it
now. But
yeah, it makes total sense. You know, my mother used to tell us, God bless her soul, my mother used to tell us about her mother, who was considered to be a simple woman, lovely human being, a simple woman, took care of the family, cooked a lot, cleaned the home, lived in a small house. But she used to, before Shabbat, she used to study the Tzena Rena. You're familiar with the Tzena Rena?
Yes, of course.
Do you want to explain what the Tzena Rena was?
Tzena Rena was a Seder for women, and full with not only the regular tefillot, but really like heart-pouring tchinot. It's called tchina, which means like begging God to help in raising the children and having parnasa, like the most basic things of life. And the beauty of Tzena Rena, which is a Siddur for women, was that indeed it spoke to the spiritual intelligence, to the emotional intelligence, and not so much to the just like, the beauty of the words and then setting the words. It was more about the heart and the connection to God.
And my mother would continue that when she was studying the Tzena Rena, and the other women were as well, whom she had known, that they were extraordinarily passionate about it, that their spiritual intelligence was very high in that time. And I think she was deeply inspired by it, very deeply inspired by it.
Sure. I'm telling you, I saw people like crying when they daven, and it's very, very hard to find it. And, it's a very different level of davening. You see that the person is connected.
Are there children within your school who you are very, very focused on? Almost, yes. You have a plan for them because their spiritual intelligence is so high?
Absolutely, yes. I can see it, especially in Shabbatonim. I see people that like, it's amazing, with very little education, Jewish education. We have, in chat, we have new stream. People who many of them came with very little background about Jewish life. They went to public schools. They come here, they start to learn the Aleph Bet, the concept in rabbinics. I'm talking about basic one, like Tefillah, Shabbat, things like this. And you know what? After a few months, some of them, their connection to Israel, their connection to their Jewish side, their connection to the community, like I look at it and I am inspired. I am a rabbi of many, many years, and I am inspired by these kids. And I say, if Am Israel has this kind of people, we are good. We are good. We will continue for generations to come.
When I was growing up, there was a kid who was younger than I was by a few years. I think he was 8 years old, and he became a Baal Tshuva at 8 years old. And to this day,
that's very unique. You know what? Here is an idea. In every meal, a student is saying a Dvar Torah, and the Dvar Torah is not like something that you find on the internet by this rabbi or this rabbi. They speak from their heart. They take an idea from the parsha, and they say what does it mean to them. And this Shabbat, I just came from a Shabbaton. Like 3 students spoke, and you know what? Each one was more inspiring than the other. Unbelievable. And you know what? I have an idea. I will bring you one time a student to interview. And I think you will understand what I'm talking about and why I'm so fascinated by young mind students who just discover who they are. And that if they are going to give their talent and abilities to the Jewish community, we are going to do so well in the future.
I'm thinking there's a beautiful symbiosis between you and them. They're very lucky to have you, and you're very lucky to have them.
Maybe.
Rabbi, there's a lot of it.
I agree upon the second side of the equation more than
no.
The first
They're
one.
lucky to have you, like Janusz Korczak, who saw little children for who they were and their abilities. It seems to me you also see children for their abilities.
First of all, You're right, and I think I said it already. When I come into class, first of all, I know that this is the future. I have the merit to have a touch in the future, even when I'm not going to be around. Something of me will be carried by the education I gave them, and they will give their children, and so on. The second one, I look also to the past. I know each one of them is like a son of Aaron. Each one of them is a son of Sarah. Each one of them is a daughter of Rivka and Rachel and Leah. I look at them slightly differently, like not only kids, but kids who carry, like I have a responsibility to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Like I always see them like looking behind me, asking me to do a good job, and I try. Not always successful, but I try.
Rabbi, in conclusion, I just want to mention one of the materials that was used in the tabernacle, the Mishkan, which was called acacia wood. Acacia wood, if you've seen it, because you can still see it today, it's absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful, beautiful wood, especially when it's glossy. I just want to tell you a couple of things about acacia wood before we wrap up. Acacia wood is described as the primary material used in the construction of the tabernacle, including its walls, the Ark of the Covenant, and various other sacred furnishings. In Exodus 25:10, God commands the Israelites to build the Ark of the Covenant using acacia wood, emphasizing its importance in the sacred architecture of the tabernacle. Acacia wood is durable. It is known for its strength and resistance to decay, which makes it ideal for use in building long-lasting structures. Aesthetic qualities. Acacia wood is also valued for its attractive appearance. It has a very rich color ranging from golden yellow to reddish brown. And its symbolism. In Jewish tradition, acacia wood is often associated with resilience and purity. Its role in the tabernacle may symbolize the spiritual strength and the purity required to house the divine presence. The wood's enduring qualities reflect the permanence of God's covenant with the Israelites. Do you have a favorite wood?
We have a very good friend who is an artist of wood, and she took us once to her home. She had a gallery of like 100 and something like different pieces of wood. Each one is very, very different. If you talk about maple and different kind of maple and the mahogany and all kind of beautiful trees. So I don't have one in particular, but I know to appreciate the beauty of wood, not only of a tree, but of wood. Absolutely, yes. Mahogany, I like the color is very deep, it's very beautiful. When we came here to Canada, we appreciate like the white maple, which is a also beautiful tree for art and so on.
Rabbi, in conclusion, I decided this week that I would ask AI to write a poem about the Parsha.
Oh, that's something new.
And the poem goes as follows. In the wilderness, a task was set to build a home where God would rest. The people gave with heart and hand to craft a place in the desert sand. But as they worked with careful care, a question lingered in the air. What if the beauty's just for show? Is it in the heart or is it an outward glow? Like the emperor in his grand parade who wore no clothes, yet all were swayed, the tabernacle stood so grand, but was it filled with God's command? The gold, the cloth, the scent of wood, were they enough to make it good? Or like the emperor's vain display, did it miss the truth along the way? A child spoke truth in the emperor's mind, that clothes alone can't light the divine. So too the people in their quest must seek his presence, not just the best. For it's not the outer shine we see, but the spirit that sets us free. The tabernacle, humble, pure, a symbol that faith can endure. So let the work be done with grace, not for the world, but for God's embrace. In every stitch, in every stone, the truest heart, not flesh, be shown. Which is, it's nice. That was your point throughout this shiur today, throughout this podcast, that the beauty exists in order for you to see God.
Absolutely. That's what I believe. Baruch Hashem, I had the merit and the privilege to see it from time to time. We are too busy sometimes to see the little things around us that will bring God to our attention. But there are opportunities to see it. I just want to end with one question to you, because I have a different reading of the whole story of the emperor's new clothes. You spoke about the swindlers, the two guys. Do you think they were swindlers? I think this is like the most important part of Anderson. he deceived you to think that they were swindlers. But didn't they stand their promise that the clothes are going to filter out the foolish people from the
Yes,
smart
indeed.
ones? So I think that's the main point here. They were not swindlers. They told the truth. They just showed that everyone except of the little boy were foolish,
Oh, that's great.
and they proved it.
Very good. Very good. Rabbi, we are heading into Sefer Vayikra next week, God willing. Just any preliminary thoughts about that book?
I think it's the most important book, and I'll tell you what we spoke about religious intelligence. What make a person religious? That's a big question. And to be honest with you, with one word, is how much you will sacrifice for connection with God. I think sacrifice is not only to take this animal and to bring it to the altar. It's just like a symbol. It's just like a paradigm of the korbanot, the sacrifice that we have to do in our life in order to make our connection to God.
So do we have the ability to make the Parshiot, the Psukim on Karbonot, do we have the ability to make that interesting?
The ability?
A lot of people, Rabbi, pass through the discussions about Karbonot.
You see, that's exactly the point. We talked about deceiving sights. It's all about us, about our eyes. We are so deceived by words, by concepts, by people that we see. That's exactly the mistake. And the whole idea of korbanot, in my opinion, is actually, no, it's not about the animal. It's not about the blood. It's not about the shechting. It's about you understanding what is the value of sacrifice. And therefore, let's take the lesson of the new, the emperor's new clothes and apply it to Vayikra. What your eyes see and what is the truth are not always the same.
I'm very excited, I must tell you. Very excited. Because I agree with you. I've always been fascinated by Vayikra and the Karbonot. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and for listening. We're very, very grateful. And in conclusion, we would like to send out a prayer to the IDF soldiers and to their families, to the hostages who are still in Gaza. And we ask God to release them as soon as possible and to watch over our people, to watch over Israel, and to bring peace to the world which we share. Any concluding words, Rabbi?
I would agree on everything you said. I feel very privileged that we not finished. We never finished to learn, but completed Sefer Shmot in this round. I want to thank the people who asked me questions, gave me encouragement, told me how much they enjoy, or sometimes they had different ideas. I really appreciate it, and I hope you will continue with us in Vayikra.
Amen. Thank you so much, folks. Be in touch with us. You have our emails at the bottom of the screen. We'd be more than happy to hear your questions and ideas and any sort of feedback that you'd like to give to us. So until next week, have a wonderful Shabbat. Am Yisrael Achai, and thank you once again for joining us.